Welcome everyone, this is our Wednesday Wisdom where we go over tips, tricks, and information on band instrument repair. Today we're going to go over 3 different areas on the clarinet to help you get better intonation and response in the Clarion register. Before we get to that, I do have a hashtag for you today. This is Clarinet Clarion. Make sure you put that in the comments below. That's going to enter you into a drawing for any of the courses that we have coming up over here in 2023. We also have one coming up in April, on April 20th. This is a virtual course, so you can take it from anywhere, anytime in the world, and that's going to be on saxophone dent work. We also have our current course that's happening right now. The guys are over there at their benches. Ryan is there in the corner giving some instructions, and they're all working on their projects. This is the advanced saxophone course, so they all the guys have a saxophone that they brought with them, and they're going to be doing some work and learning all of the advanced techniques that Ryan is going to be sharing with them this week. So that's kind of what our shop is looking like during the day while the guys are in the course. We may check back with them in a little bit. So Leroy, let's dive right into it. For those who aren't familiar maybe with this register, I know I kind of wasn't. What exactly is the Clarion register on clarinet? Give us a little background info on that, and then we'll get into our 3 techniques.
Sure. The Clarion register basically is notes between B natural, so basically the whole long pipe note, and then C above the staff.
Okay.
And that actually breaks up into 2 sections as well. So here's your, whoops, I'll actually just do this too.
Okay, very good.
So there's the line right there. And if you're a clarinet player or know where this break is, so the lower clarion is basically everything while you're doing stuff in the lower joint. The upper is anything just in the upper joint. But the whole range from B natural to C is the whole Clarion register.
Okay, very good. So let me get into my little notes here because I wanted to ask you a question. Other than that, oh yeah, how are they, before we even get into the adjustments, what are some things that either players or technicians can look for, listen for, feel for when they have their instrument to kind of diagnose if there's a problem?
Sure. There's the 3 major things that I would probably focus on would be notes being fuzzy,
okay.
Notes not being as responsive as they should be, and just overall things being out of tune.
Okay, so like if the C or the B is out of tune,
yes,
this is an area where we can
absolutely
fix that? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, very good. What is the first area for us to take a look at?
So we can start kind of anywhere, but for ease of where we're going to start at the top and then go to the bottom.
Okay.
So the first spot would be right here on this throat tone, A and A flat area. Most clarinets, they'll have this little adjustment screw right here, which controls the interaction between the A and the A flat. So if this is turned down too far, it'll actually start opening the A flat up. And that's actually one of the problems that ends up happening. So I'll take my feeler gauge here. I like to use 1/2 thousandths. It is the end all of end alls of knowing if something will be sealing or not. And I will put that right underneath there. And it's hard to see, but this is not grabbing anything at all.
Okay.
And I will go into the A, and you can see the difference. See how it's wanting to fight me a little bit while I'm pulling it. So I'm getting no fight on the A flat, but a little bit of fight on the A, which tells me, like I just said, that this screw is turned down too far and it's opening up that A flat. So super easy fix. Take a nice little screwdriver, and sorry, I can't see, so I have to see under my glasses. You just back off that screw just a little bit, and I'm doing a sight and a feel test, and I'm not getting any play yet, so I'll back it off a little bit more. And now there's some play, and I'll hold it up here so hopefully you can see it.
Oh yeah.
It's a little excessive, but there's a little bit of play there. You don't want that much, but that's the idea. You want a little bit of play in there, which will basically give you 100% assurance that A flat will be sealing. I mean, as long as the key is straight and everything.
Okay.
But as long as everything is where it should be and normal, that little bit of play will assure you that A flat will seal.
So you're actually putting a little bit of play in the key work to help the response and intonation.
Yes,
Very
yes,
interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
It's normally that's not the case. In this case, yes. And the two main reasons why are, if you're a wet player like I am, sometimes a little spit layer or whatever will form between that key and the body. That will raise up that key a little bit. If everything is, I'll say, quote unquote, perfect, well then we're going to be in that same boat where if this is raised up a little bit, that key will open up a little bit, and then imagine anything from here down is going to be affected. So basically your whole horn.
Okay.
The other thing that can happen is if you have natural pads in there, so like a regular bladder skin pad, over time it can expand and contract from heat and moisture. If that adjustment is quote unquote perfect, when that pad will expand, again, that'll open up that A flat and then affect the whole horn. So with that little bit of play, that eliminates any, I'll say, weirdness that could possibly happen in that area, and then you are covered.
Should they be putting some sort of thread locker on there? I know we have like the purple thread lock that's very light. Is that necessary?
Not really. The thread locker works great if you need it. The only time that I would recommend using it is if for some reason the screw is loose and it doesn't stay in place when you're actually turning it to where you're trying to adjust it.
Okay.
If it's loose and if it's loosey-goosey or it just doesn't want to stay, then yeah, absolutely, the thread locker is perfectly a good way to make that happen.
Okay. And then when would you not use it?
When it stays in place, or a lot of the newer modern instruments will have like that Delrin plastic kind of screw in there. They're basically made to fit tight and snug, so you don't really even need to use that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Let's go on to the second one. What is the second area to
Number two.
look at?
Number two is this bridge area right here. So you have the bridge key here on the upper joint, and then you have the ring key on the bottom. The ring key on the bottom interacts with that bridge key and closes these.
Okay.
So these two pads need to close at the same time. And you can do one of two tests. You can straight up just take your feeler gauge and check it, or for a quick test, you can actually hold that bridge key down and push the ring key down. And if you can actually feel it hit that key if it's over adjusted, especially if it's really over adjusted. You can actually feel this ring key push this down farther than it wants to go. That's kind of the case in here. And to kind of give you the visual, again, we'll take the feeler gauge again. You can see that the bridge key is catching. Here, not so much. It's just kind of coming right out of there.
Okay.
Here, again. So you'll pick up our parallel duckbill pliers. These are great for a lot of different things, but these are almost, in my opinion, almost made for this. Because if you look at this area where it interacts right by this band right here, there's not a lot of room to do much of anything.
Okay.
So if you don't have a small bill or a small area like this, you almost have to take that thing apart to do it, which, you know, if you're going back and forth, it eats up a lot of your time. This is a nice time saver, and it makes it really easy. So what I'm going to do is I'll turn it this way, and I'll grab onto that, and then what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to, because the bridge key is hitting first,
Okay.
I need to make sure that this goes down farther. So I need to pull the bridge key that way, so it's farther away from the interaction with this.
So you're pulling the bridge key away from the body.
Correct.
Okay.
So just the littlest bit. It doesn't take much. And I don't feel it, so we're gonna check the feeler gauge here. Okay, so now you can see this is grabbing. Again, it's hard to tell, but you can also tell that this is now not grabbing. So I did move it. So at this point, I would again, we went this way.
Okay. Away from the body.
So now the bridge key isn't really grabbing at all, so it needs to go closer to the body. So I would basically do the same thing, put the pliers on there again, and just push it that way.
Okay.
And then basically what you're trying to do is to make sure that obviously this one seals, and then to make sure that this also seals. And then you basically almost like go back and forth, but you get to that spot where they're good, and then that point and that interaction is now good.
Now, Leroy, what about materials? Some
Oh, yeah.
technicians put materials on the bridge key. What are your recommendations for that?
The two that I recommend are, well, there's three, but two are the same material. One is natural cork.
Okay.
The thickness that I would recommend would be either the very thin laminate cork that we sell,
Okay.
or that 1/64th, that real thin stuff. The one that I really like is the gray Ultra-Suede, the thin Ultra-Suede.
Okay.
It is nice and thin, and it's a little cushy. I like the ones that I'll say are a little cushy because it gives you a little bit of, I'll say, room for error. Whenever you're lining up the bridge key right here, a lot of I know it's kind of hard because there's keys here, but if you look real close here, a lot of the modern instruments will have a line, like two lines or one line on the bridge key. And that actually helps you line up this bridge key to this key coming from the lower joint, that ring key. The problem is, if it's not, I'll say, if it's not quote unquote exactly where it should be, and if you have a firmer materials like Tech Cork or something like that, again, Tech Cork is great. I love it, but it has its places.
Yes.
This unfortunately is not one of those places.
Okay.
But if you had a firmer material like that, you have little to no room for error. So if you were putting your horn together and the adjustment was off just by a little bit, you might actually over or under adjust that bridge key, making it either the 1-in-1 not work or the ring key in the bottom not seal.
Okay. And Leroy, just for me, can you go back over what exactly is over adjustment and under adjustment?
Yes. Okay. So we'll reference the spot again. So if I'm saying the bridge key is over adjusted, that means that the bridge key is closing earlier than the ring key down here.
Okay.
So that would mean like this is sealing, this is not. Now, if I'm saying the bridge key is under adjusted, flip flop it. That means that the bridge key is not sealing, but the ring key is sealing.
Okay. Very good. And then Art's also saying that that this could also be affected by pad choice or perhaps pad thickness.
Yes, yeah. If you're doing say a PC on an instrument, and the ring key, we'll just use this as an example. The ring key pad is good, but the bridge key pad needs to be zipped out and a new one put in there. If the thickness is a little bit different or the pad's a little bit different, yeah, you're gonna 100% want to check this adjustment because it could be a little bit thinner than, like we just said, that bridge key will be under adjusted. But if it's thicker, it could also potentially be over adjusted. Then you have to go back and forth and do that thing again.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a good point.
Very good. All right. Well, that's the bridge key. Let's move on to key number 3.
3.
Yes.
3, 3, 3. All right. So the key, the area we'll be dealing with is actually 2 keys, and it's the FC key and the BE key down here. Again, there's a quick way to check as far as adjustment goes, and again, it's a feel test. So you can actually use the lever, push that down, and then you can tap that FC key. And if you look real closely, if you look at that crow's foot, see how it's moving? It's only moving a little bit, but that's like really bad out of adjustment. So if you were to play like even low E, it would be super fuzzy. But if you're going to play B and there's that much movement in there, it may not even speak.
Okay.
So there are two easy ways to go about adjusting that. You can either take your thumb, put it right under that crow's foot, and then just slightly push on the pad cup itself, on the FC pad cup, or you can take either a standard pad slick like this, or one of our really nice artesian pad slicks.
Okay.
and then put it underneath the kidney part of the key. So not the crow's foot, but under the actual touch part itself. What this does is this gives you a little more leverage. So, and it's probably a little easier on your fingers too, depending on how hard the metal is of the instrument you're working on.
Okay.
And it's the same action. So you basically do this, brace the tool, which is bracing the key, and then you would just push down on the FC pad cup a little bit to put it in adjustment.
Okay.
But for this case, since my thumbs I don't feel too much in there anymore, I'm just going to hold that crow's foot, and I'm just going to push this down a little bit. And again, it doesn't take much. So if you look, it's still moving a little bit.
Okay. So then we go ahead and adjust again.
Just a little bit more. And actually now I don't see it move. And I'm also going to check this one too, because if the FC goes down too far, again, that over adjustment part. So if the FC goes down too far, there'll actually be flex in that BE key. So it actually feels pretty good. But again, that's just a quick way to see where you're at if you're close into the ballpark. The final definitive answer is your feeler gauge.
Okay.
And it should always be your feeler gauge. So again, I'm using the lever to test this. I'm not using the kidney key power area. And the reason I'm doing that is the farther away I go from this pad cup, the more linkage and key interaction is within the horn. So if there's any like weird play or something like that in there, which you try to eliminate anyway, but if there is, going the farthest away from it and using that interaction will give you the best result down here in the end.
Okay. So this is a similar kind of linkage to saxophone, low B.
Yeah.
Flat.
Yeah. Very, very similar. Yeah. So I'll just take my feeler gauge and check it all around. So it's catching in the back. This is catching really good. So what I would probably do is just give it one last little push, and then yeah, now we're in the ballpark where we should be.
And we don't need to. We're going to assume that the pads have already been leveled.
Correct.
And are sealing against the tone hole.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there are times though when if something like this happens and you're I'll say you're bending a pad cup or you're putting the pad cup back in place, there are some times where just the act of doing it will reorient a little bit of the pad. So you might have to float it in and pull it forward or something like that a little bit, but it's nothing out of the ordinary because you're having to actually move things around.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you may have to do a little reconfiguration.
Yeah.
On the pad as well.
Yep. Same thing. Same thing with saxophone. Same idea.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. All right, Leroy. Thank you so much for that excellent demonstration. I want to go over the winner for this week.
I was like, I don't know if we did it, but here we go. Yes.
Make sure you take that hashtag. Put that in the comments below. And the
There it
winner
is.
for this week is going to be Philip Patton. So Philip,
right.
congratulations, sir. Send me an email to richrich@MusicMedic.com. We'll get you your discount for any of the courses that we have coming up in the year here. We also have one coming up on April 20th, and that's going to be a virtual dent course. And we also have our...
Look at those guys again.
We've got some stuff going on today. The advanced saxophone course, Ryan is... he's probably...
Oh, he's watching.
I think...
Hi,
Hey, Ryan.
That's the royal way. Look at that. Okay, jump up and down now. Just kidding.
So we can see. Hey guys,
There we go.
Awesome.
All right.
These guys have come from all over the U.S. to take advanced saxophone repair with Ryan. He's watching them diligently as they go over some of the techniques that we've talked about earlier in the course. So we're going to bring it back. And
There we go.
thank you guys so much. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. Make sure you put the hashtag, put that in the comments below. That's going to do it for now. Let me see. And I think that's it.
Awesome.
Very good. Thank you guys. And until next time, happy repairing.